Dazzle You does paranormal too. A ghost guardian. A spirit world protecting me around Bigfoots. As I enter in the forest that I've been into about 7 or 8 times, and this time I just went into the forest because I didn't want to go to any place else. I've been to a place where I wanted to go to where I've been before. And I started to notice some unusual things about a ghost guardian that's protecting me in a spirit world. And I did some research into the lost cities. And I noticed some big squares and some very paranormal structures, including ghost entities, all caught in this video. Dazzle You does paranormal too, and the lost city apparently it disappears in the woods in the middle of sticks like a cloud. I have all this footage, and I'm going to reveal that connection on Dazzle You with aliens and other things all caught in the background with pillars, squares, where Bigfoot roams, a weird ghost guardian. You can see his sword. You can see its disguise. You can see everything about the ghost guardian as standing behind what appears to be a Bigfoot. And I noticed some things about the structures, the other things, and I have a connection where there's like a lost city, like a paranormal city where they just venture and walk into that's hidden in the woods. That Bigfoots and other ghosts and entities that I keep seeing on my footage. I'm going to go into great detail about their pillars, the ghosts, the entities, the soldier, everything on Dazzle You Does Paranormal too. It is Dan the Man. Dazzle You Does Paranormal too. I probably caught 20 Sasquatches on video. One for the last 3 years. I'm probably up to about 3 or 4 this year already in 2022. This stick face figure, I keep seeing him in other entities. They go into trees, they go in leaves, they go in other things. I keep seeing this exact same face. But what I did is I ventured into the forest this day and I caught this guardian thing. You can see his sword, his whole thing is protecting me from this Bigfoot in the background in my footage. But I just kind of did a shoot through. I just kind of scoped along the sides in a place that I've seen Bigfoots and other things almost every time. And I went there an 8th time. Instead of going some other place, I decided to go to a place I already knew. And in the background I saw this shadow and this big figure. They talk about these shadow Bigfoots and then stick Bigfoots, and then the whole thing seemed like it was a world when I zoomed up and cropped in my footage. Like it's kind of like pausing on your cell phone and zooming in a bunch of times. That's about the best I can do on this one. It wasn't my best. I didn't mean to do all this, but I knew I was going to a place where it was, so I kind of looked around the edges anyway, and that's the kind of footage I caught. It's this big cloud. It seemed like all these trees came together. You cannot walk this forest a million times and see 20 trees growing together. You cannot see these squares and these weird, looks like the Matrix greens going and other things. Almost like a world that was invisible that I almost walked into. And I've done that before. And that's what scares me because I think that's part of the reason why I see Bigfoots. Some people have been saying some people see them all the time. If you're looking for a big black thing walking through the forest like a bear, you're not looking for it. It's in the forest and it's often looking at me more than I'm looking at it. So a lot of those things I find unbelievable. But anyways, I see these weird trees all lined up, like 30 trees together. I cannot walk this forest a million times. I see the bottom of the ground depressed with figures in it where this Bigfoot head was sticking out, and this ghost guardian entity was like has a sword, and it has like this mask, and it's like lives in a whole nother world that was coming out protecting me as I got near it. Now I've been in situations where I got near aliens and Bigfoots. When I got near Bigfoots, I got near aliens and another ghost entities and other things. So maybe I think they have a connection to the spiritual world and a connection to a medium, but I do not think that they're connected. I just think that they have a similar meaning and other things because of what I've seen on my footage personally. So the connection is there's a medium that they both know about. And as if you can see that if aliens see that humans are getting near Bigfoots, they will come in. If ghost entities are around, Bigfoots might come in. If there's doors or whatever coming around in this spiritual world, there's a world that just glows in and they can walk in and walk out of, then there's a lot of them. What is that world really? Is that in our heads? Because why would I would see it? Why would one person see that when that world can be anywhere in the world? And I can just see it and almost walk into it like I've already been there and see it on videotape. So the whole world is about this, the Barangene tree, the lost city. It's not always water. The Philippines say they see a ghost like cloud in a bunch of trees that are lined up in a sophisticated world, like squares and steps and other things light up, and you cannot eat from them. If you do, you're stuck in the world forever. And I think, maybe that's possible that was on footage, but I don't really know. But what I've seen on footage, I can only tell you. And it's actually, I will tell you personally, that it is beyond my belief. Like, what I would believe and what I see on videotape, I don't believe myself, but I have to go by what I see on videotape anyway and what other people are saying. So it's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard to say something that you don't really, I've seen Bigfoots, I'm believing in Bigfoots. I've seen other things that people say that, and then I see on videotape on my own footage that I have to accept because that's what I see. And I have to go with that. So, I do know a lot of little things about aliens and Bigfoots and other things. And, I know that aliens are kind of like Bigfoots. They kind of like will torture people for things that they've done wrong. And they're both in a spiritual world or some entities. They both make some kind of structures. They both do cloaking. They all do those types of things. So there's some kind of connection with orbs and whatever. But I see them apart. I see them apart, but I see them knowing the same thing. And that's the world that we get into when we get into the connection of Bigfoots and aliens and UFOs and other things. So as I'm walking through the forest, I always see something in this forest. But this time I noticed some things in my videographs that were very disturbing, like some structures, some glowings, a weird clouds, what looks like aliens in the background. Also have another picture coming up of the Sasquatch, which is more like a stick Sasquatch versus the smoke ones. This is weird. This is very squares that I've seen in here in this picture. You're not going to see squares anywhere else. And it only shows that there's a civilization where this Bigfoot was apparently in the background. This guardian was guarding me. You can see his sword, his hair, his whole thing. This big Bigfoot cloud in the background. The whole thing is just going on. It's so surreal. But when I started going through footage, I saw this other world where all these like trees were lined up in a row. And you're never going to see that. I'm never going to see that in this forest again. I'm never going to see all this line of forest. And apparently the story is of the lost city is that the trees make a cloud in the middle of them. And in the middle of the trees, there's this sophisticated world. It's not the world on the sea. It's the world seen in the Philippines and the iguana on the tree. And apparently, in the middle of the tree, you can't eat from them. But there's this sophisticated world that can land and move where it wants to. And you can move into it as almost like an eternity. I've walked into these entities and I've seen them several times on my footage, squares, other things. You can look over in the left-hand background, Bigfoots. This Bigfoot looks like it's coming out of the bottom of something, and there's this guardian. You can see his sword, his whole thing. You can see a whole lot of things as I go through the footage, but I can only explain to you what I had seen. And I just did a walkthrough. I've been there 8 times. I've been there. I just wanted to go somewhere I've been before. And I would look through this footage, and I could bring this correlation to Lost City, where this trees and this smoke cloud comes out in the middle of the trees in this sophisticated world, and I see the steps, these stones, these aliens, these other things, these Bigfoots, and this ghost guardian in the background. I mean, what are you gonna say? I can only say what is on my footage, and I have made a connection where I think the aliens know that you're around Bigfoot sometimes and they come down, but I do not think they're absolutely connected. I think they're connected in the spirit world. I do not think that they are connected individually. And I think they often get blamed, but they often also have the same orbs, disappearances, and other things. So it's very, very, very hard to say when you see orbs and other things mysteriously around Bigfoots. Are they that smart that know this mysterious knowledge, or they are both all connected through this spiritual entity world where they can just walk through? Well, apparently they can just walk through. Like they have landed here in a fourth dimensional medical physical world, whatever you want to call it, where they can just walk out. And Bigfoots are just walking out. And maybe that is the real answer behind the Bigfoots. So as I was walking through the forest that day, I had noticed a lot of things. I just started walking along. I noticed the dark cloud in the background, and I just kind of filmed around along the sides. And the sides is where I caught like a lot of this stuff. It's like this weird little tower, these weird little steps that I caught, a Bigfoot, a weird glowing thing, and also caught this other thing I like to call it as a Sasquatchy, is a tree with a Bigfoot face in it. And a lot of people say that some Bigfoots can disappear in trees, and other things. Also caught what looks like the black rabbits and other things. I mean, it's really, really, really mysterious once you get into it, but the whole thing is just like so real. I mean, was that a Bigfoot coming into me in the background? You never know. So the story goes, as I walked along, I just filmed along the sides, and I just filmed like I regularly do. But I caught a lot of footage this time, and there's a lot of explaining to do with steps, weird structures, faces, entities, ghosts. I see them a lot, and I started to use that as a way to verify, because I think they have a way of connecting into the spiritual world. So my answer is no, I don't think that Bigfoots and aliens are connected, but I do think they're connected in a way of the spiritual world, that they know have some kind of force where they can just walk in and walk out like some kind of fourth dimensional thing, and that both beings are aware of it, and both beings can be there at the same time to know that in those situations. Alright, on this day of walking through the forest, I noticed a big black shadow back in the background. And I know that Shadow Peoples has been a discussion on Expedition Bigfoot with stick figures. Well, I don't go into all of that in their world and what I've seen in footage. I call them videographs. It's basically where you push on your cell phone as you're going along, and only your pixels can see certain things and whatnot. But I saw this big black shadow off in the background. This day I've only walked through the forest about 5 or 6 times.